All right, guys, we're started with the Q&A. If you'd like to sit down and strap in, now would be a good time. If you're not into that, okay. Okay, so you're probably here because you know who guests are and you know why they're worth knowing. Even so, I'm going to introduce them because that is traditional. First person I'm going to introduce is my oldest friend in Central Florida. And he's a collector of human beings who prizes them for their talents and puts them on in his little menagerie of businesses that he builds and coordinates and levitates. He is if anyone in Mama's Sauce is Mama, it would be Nick Sambrato. So Nick will be representing Mama's Sauce on the Coffee and Pie panel 2014. You're sitting in the center, actually. As a symbolic gesture of hospitality that Mama's Sauce is hosting the event. Yeah, so Nick is going to be answering questions on behalf of Mama's Sauce. If you have any questions about what we do, about letterpress or silkscreen printing, or about looking successful on the internet, he'd be the one to ask about questions like that. Our next guest, let's see, you. This is one of my oldest friends when I was, as a Mama's Sauce salesperson, consulting, getting creative with designers. This guy is an incredibly talented hand letterer. He's really good at making letters look like he didn't make them with his hands, but kind of did, but like just enough. You know what I'm talking about. Extremely talented guy, extremely knowledgeable. Just launched an incredible tutorial site that he built all on his lonesome, while also being a decent husband, which blows my mind. In San Antonio, Texas, Sean McCabe. Sean, you can actually pick your stool. Okay, Sean has, wow, stage right, okay. Our third and final panelist is, have you guys ever heard of French paper? Yeah, okay, a few people. I think this live stream just like went down, from profanity. Does that happen? I don't know. So this company, if there's one company that Mama Sauce stands next to, like, me too, it's French paper. French paper is a company that is in its 6th generation of family ownership and operatorship and family handsomeness. Is that the term you guys use? They're in a small town in Niles, Michigan, and they've been doing beautiful stuff since 1871. Been hydroelectric since before it was cool. And here to tell you all about it is the heir apparent crown prince of French Paper Company, Brian French. Yeah, would you like to? You can pick that one. So I'm going to get out of your way, and like I said, there's no talk. Like after this, there's not like to sit here and just kind of turn on my ears, turn off my brain for a few minutes. But we really, these guys are here because they really want to hear what you have to say, and they want to know what you want to learn, and they want to learn from you. I actually am going to kick it off with a question that came in from an online person, because we are live streaming this. Their person, probably. It's for Nick. How did Mama Sauce start? And tell us about how it has changed over the years. And if you want to tell folks a little bit about what it is in case they don't know,
Awesome. Wow, I didn't expect anybody to ask me a question with these two guys here, so I wasn't prepared. But I'm always prepared to answer how Mama Sauce started and how it changed and where we're going. And in case nobody knows, I'm assuming some people here don't know who Mama Sauce is because you're probably here to see one of these wonderful people and not necessarily us. But Mama Sauce is what we feel is the world's premier spot color letterpress and silk screen studio, and we work nearly primarily with paper as a substrate, and when it comes to paper, nearly primarily with French paper. And it didn't begin that way. It began Well, it began in the sunroom of my house, and in our first 2 years, as the company grew and evolved and changed, it moved 6 times until we found our current home, which is soon to be our not so current home, as we just found a new awesome home. But when it started, it was originally a digital print shop, and it was just me and Joey Bordenga, who is our shop manager and now partner at Mama Sauce, and he was there day one. Yeah. And Joey was in a band that I managed called Baron Von Bear. You should look them up. And they were doing really awesome, and they were maybe my last band that I worked with that broke up. And when they broke up, that was great because then Joey could go from the part time to the full time at what was not Mama Sauce at that time. It was a digital print shop that I had bought for, I mean, I think next to nothing, literally next to nothing. It was just some guys that ran an indie print shop that was online, and they had a whole bunch of touring bands as clients, and it was one of those things that it was a laser printer, and you hit click on people's show art, and then you maybe cut it, and if you cut it, it was on a tabletop cutter, and it was cool, but it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything that I connected with, but only in the way that it serviced bands. And and at the time I had a record label, and then when I sold the record label, we had the print shop, and Joey was working there part time. Actually, by that time, I was full time, and I went on tour with the band. And Joey called me. He's like, "Our paper cutter broke." I was like, "I'll get you a paper cutter. We're in Atlanta." And I walked into an old print shop, and turned out it was found on Craigslist. And this print shop was closing because this 87-year-old man was retiring, and I was like, "Paper cutter, we need that. I'll have that. What's that beautiful thing?" And he's like, "That's a letterpress." And I was like, "I'll have that too." And I went back to the band. I was like, got to go see about a girl kind of thing, but I got to go see about this letterpress. I was like, "Guys, good luck on the rest of the tour. I'm loading this stuff up and I'm driving home." And I drove home, whipped open the truck, the Penske back door, and I said, and they're like, "What is that?" And it's like, "It's a letterpress, and that's where we're going, and that's what we're doing." And I fell in love with spot color just before that, because the guy who birthed the idea of Mama Sauce with Joey and I, Austin Petito, did our brand. We kind of assimilated his screen print into our facility before we got into letterpress, and he taught us about mixing inks, and he taught us about spot color, and he taught us about paper. I remember when he showed me French paper for the first time and explained it to me, and I just fell in love with it. And letterpress was the natural extension of that. And after we got that letterpress, my good friend Chase offered to film our very first job and put it online, and it was a really great video, and it went really viral in a way, and people just thought we were a letterpress shop. That was great, but really it was our first job, and we had no idea what we were doing, and it just opened the floodgates to a lot of work that we had to respond to over the years, and literally it took until a couple years ago to catch up with whatever hype really came along with it. We tried and tried and tried, and the only reason we got there is because of amazing people like Brooks and Joey and Tim and Jesse and Phyllis and everybody that works there. I mean, we have maybe a dozen people there now, plus our interns. And the only reason we are great at what we do is because we have great, amazing people. So at this point, it has very little to do with me, and our future has everything to do with them and everything to do with everybody out there who thinks that they could fall in love with spot color too as designers. And that's a little bit about where we came from and where we're going. Where we where we're going, we don't need roads. It's going to be amazing. There's amazing stuff.
Do we ever plan to offer 18 by 24? Uh, that's a hard question, mostly because our sheet sizes, the way we do them, is typically designed around what fits our machine best. So whatever comes out of our 105-inch trim is what we typically sell. And truly to do an 1825 or 1824, we're just cutting more off and throwing it in a trash can. So most of the time we try not to do things like that, but we always want to hear people's ideas. If it's something that's really common that people want and it's going to work, we are always interested in hearing about that and trying it out. So it's certainly something we would look into, and we are looking at sizes. The first one is probably 11 by 17, but I would think after that, that could be the next one. So yeah, thank you for the question, and it's been heard.
As opposed to Sean West. I get people saying Sean West, calling me Mr. West. It's just Sean West. So besides writing a book and a well-deserved break, do I have any other plans for the next year? Specifically, no, I don't. And this is the first time I'm saying that because I'm always planning the next thing. And I kind of got overworked. And so I wanted to make a point not to this time. So I've been saying no to a lot of things in the past 3 months. And I just want to create some space for myself. I want to create some time to just, think and process and definitely write the book. So I have 3 months set aside for a book that I want to write this summer called The Overlap Technique, which is basically doing what you love full time, making a living at that, but calculated steps to pursuing that. So not just the cliches of doing what you love, but actually, real steps to being able to achieve that. But I don't know, besides that, I'm purposefully not doing anything because I think it's just going to end up things are going to end up figuring themselves out. I mean, I couldn't have predicted that I would be where I am now, even a year or 2 years ago. So I think things are just going to work themselves out. I'm trying to purposefully not schedule myself right now.
Yeah, how did French paper get involved with Charles Anderson design? A major mistake. No, uh, a long time ago when Chuck was just starting at Duffy Design Group, my dad was calling on him, making sales calls just like I do all the time. And Chuck kind of said, "Hey man, why don't we do a piece together? It'd be great to do." Um, and my dad told him, "Well, yeah, that's great." Showed him some work, and he said, "Well, what's our budget?" And my dad told him, this is my budget. And Chuck said, yeah, we could probably make something pretty cool for that. And my dad said, no, that's my annual budget. Not You're not blowing that on one piece. And after some talking, because that's what Chuck's good at, they wound up blowing the entire budget on one speckle tone brochure, and it's in the Smithsonian as a piece that changed graphic design. So it started off pretty well. Uh, 20 After a while, Chuck went out and did his own thing and created CSA Design. We've been working with him ever since. He's been our guide as far as that goes. Chuck's got a very hard job to do with French paper because we really have no idea. When it comes to design, we have no design minds in our company. Chuck truly takes us and guides us down that path. Um, and it's been 25 years, if you can believe that, that Chuck's been doing all our stuff. So he's kept us alive. I mean, without the power of design, French paper wouldn't be around. Design did everything over here, and when we get done, please everybody take all this stuff because it's not going to fit in my carry-on. Yes, online as well on our website, frenchpaper.com. We have all sorts of stuff up there. CSA actually handles all of our web as well. So those guys, I mean, truly, they are as hands-on as it gets for a design group. They handle us from beginning to end, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, there have been a lot of major shifts in French paper. When the company actually started, we were making paper baking trays, That was the original company. So when large companies made pies and breads, they actually made it in a molded paper tray, and that's what the company started manufacturing. It was actually Michigan Wood Pulp Company was the name of it. And when the Frenches took it over, we continued on with the pie business. After a while, they started using steel tins instead of the paper ones, and the business went away. And we that was about the 1920s. We transferred to text and cover, and that's where we've been ever since. Um, Generationally, there's really not that much of a change because we tend to overlap. Right now, I'm a sales rep and pretty much everything that's needed of me. My dad's the president, and my grandpa's actually the CEO. He's 89 and he's there every day, 7 days a week. So uh, there's always a connection with us all the time. We overlap pretty well, and we get along very well. We tend to see eye to eye when it comes to business, and it works pretty well. I hope not.
When did I become interested in hand lettering and why? I started really pursuing hand lettering in 2010. I kind of dabbled in it in middle school just for fun, but really started going after it in 2010. At the time, I had started a web firm coming from a freelance design background, and I was working a full-time job getting the web firm going. And in my nights and weekends, I started going after hand lettering. So just creating a bunch, and it was just something that I was interested in ever since I was younger. I enjoyed drawing letters on my homework and things like that. I thought it was kind of weird because even my artistic friends were illustrating or painting, and I'm drawing letters. I didn't know there was such a thing as typography till I got on the internet and realized that there's a lot of other people that are weird like you, and there's words for it. Do I have any dream projects or stuff I haven't worked on? I recently phased out of client work last year, and that was primarily to build out what I just launched earlier this week, which is my learnlettering.com courses. And that's been a really big project for me. That's something I've been wanting to do for a few years. So I phased out of client work to be able to do that. But in terms of client work, when I first got into the design industry, I thought the epitome of arrival was working for kind of a household name brand kind of a client. And as the years went on, I started to realize it was less about working with those kind of name brands and more just working with clients that were on board with your process and trusted you and you had a good relationship with. I mean, really, one is do good work, client accept, and are we still on? We're still on. uh, yeah, I mean, I guess now I'm not so much on the client work anymore, um, but in terms of client work, it's really just establishing a good relationship up front and finding someone that trusts me and trusts me to take their goals and execute it in design format.
And I actually would like to ask that question of Brian because, I mean, like you said, you're a sales guy there. You're calling on people just like your dad called on Charles or Chuck. Um, is there someone out there that you've been pursuing, or someone that you'd want to pursue? Because like something that was relatively new to me when I met your regional guys is you guys exist well beyond the web space that your web store and just ordering sheet goods, but you produce a lot of amazing stuff that we don't even know about for amazing clients directly. Is there anybody out there that is your golden goose?
That's that's a really hard question to answer. I mean, truly for us, the dream project is anything that people really love and people really get a lot of mileage out of. It doesn't really necessarily have to be that huge company or that huge order. I mean, for what really makes us happy is when somebody gets done with a project, it's printed or whatever it may be, and they say, wow, that was really worthwhile. Thank God we did that. That really worked great. I mean, that's what is cool for French paper. So my dream client would be somebody who really understands. I mean, that's really what it comes down to for us.
Anybody else out here have more questions? Brooks, got anything? True Powers. Okay, so the question was that we represent 3 different spheres in design, from substrate and supplier to talent, and design to the production in the hands and interpreting, getting in between those two. And have we worked on anything together? Well, individually, our staff works directly with Sean all the time. Because he's prolific in what he's doing, and he's also great in his product line and sales. And I know you have a great relationship with Brooks and our sales staff that you could speak to. And Brian just won't leave us alone. But quite a bit of your stuff is printed on French paper, as much as possible, as he would say. So whenever Sean's printing stuff and we're sourcing the material, what we really try to do is pick the paper. Our sales staff picks the paper that is best for the job, and sometimes that may not be French paper because of color or texture, but actually more often than not it is. So quite often do we find ourselves collaborating, not necessarily directly, and all of 3 of us having discussions, or all 3 of our organizations having discussions, but our work comes together often.
Yeah, we actually did a poster last year for a conference that I contributed the design, you guys printed, and French sponsored the paper. So none of us were, I wasn't selling the design, you weren't selling the services, they weren't selling the paper, so we kind of did collaborate in that sense.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's another great point. Sean it makes time to do awesome stuff for collaboration, like being here. And I'm not sure if everybody knows, but one of the reasons Sean's here, not just to be here at this event tonight, but he donated his time throughout the semester for our internship program, and he was here to do portfolio reviews for our interns, which is an awesome collaboration. And Brian is always amazing whenever we call him up with a harebrained idea, saying, "Hey, would you want to contribute and collaborate on something and lend paper?" It's always a yes, And what you just spoke about was one of those things where we did come together.
That was a very modest answer. That we did an incredible poster. That it wasn't just a poster. We made some really plain orange paper, and they turned it into something really incredible. So that was way too modest.
That was for Creative South in Columbus, Georgia, which another one's coming up on April 10th. Yeah, April 10th. You guys missed something amazing on the internet. Question?
For me, it was specialization. And I know it's kind of a two-sided coin. The advice is you want to explore, you want to try new much when you're getting started, but eventually you do kind of want to hone in and focus at least on one thing at a time. That doesn't mean you can't do a bunch of things. That doesn't mean you can't eventually explore new things, but in seasons, exploring and specifically focusing on one thing at a time and getting really good at that one thing. That was where I experienced a real difference in being recognized for something. So I can do illustration or user interface or icon design or animation and video, but focusing on one thing kind of helped me establish myself in that area. I don't know if that applies.
Yeah, it applies to us for sure. And I'll give you a 3-part answer that starts with what Sean said. Well, beginning with what I said before, originally we were a digital full color shop, which is on the opposite side of the spectrum of a handmade spot color shop. And so there was a time where we had overlap of processes where both were under our one roof. And because historically full color was a more mature vertical for us, it represented a huge chunk of our revenue. And deciding to specialize in what we fell in love with, spot color and handmade, was a major decision on our part. Like, you know, like you're saying, pursuing what you love, which the decision represented lopping off more than a third of our revenue stream and just saying we're done with that, you know. And that was a tough decision, but it was a decision made in that spirit. And then continuing on with the idea of specialization, a trial for me was of figuring out what I was good at in the company, which was, well, basically what Brooke said, you know, like, hey, making us look good on the internet, and that was about it. So replacing myself with great and amazing, talented people to do pretty much everything, and at the end of the day, actually replacing me with making us look good on the internet because Brooks is better than me at that, you know. So eventually, I was left without a home, and so now my new challenge, really from being a proud mama I am from, you know, from afar, it feels like sometimes, but certainly family. My new challenge is something that I think every business, especially creative, will face, which is making sure you make a place that provides opportunity for the kind of people you want to work with every single day, and that will continue to provide opportunity in the ways that are important to your people. And I think there's a monetary aspect to that that works in economics, and I think there's a non-economic side to that as well. And I think that is going to be the challenge forever. And that's one I'm excited to face because that really means relationships and that means growing together. And I think you probably have a pretty good perspective being sixth generation in a company.
My largest challenge every day is deciding when nap time is going to be. I typically go afternoon. Uh, no, truly, as a company, that's where most of our challenges lie. We take everything as a group, and truly, the hardest thing for French paper is evolving ourselves. The paper industry is changing constantly. With the introduction of new technology, different types of paper have really gone away. So the hard thing for us is finding niches, finding markets where we can still exist and survive and make paper and fill needs. So we're forever finding a new market that we can hit that really people need our paper, need our product. We get a new huge customer every year, and we say, why haven't we been selling these guys forever? And it's always that, and that's, you know, it's really hard to do because you can't just look at a phone book or Google people that buy paper. Um, so I mean, truly, you have to get out, hit the streets, meet people, talk, and truly word of mouth is one of the huge things that really gets us that far. So that's probably our biggest challenge.
Over here.
I would say capital letter A sans serif high contrast.
Favorite color? We're we're adding serifs. uh, that might have been the best answer ever. It's hard for me to have a favorite color because it's like, how do you pick your favorite child? Like, I mean, they're all so fun. Honestly, craft speckle tone is probably my favorite if I had to pick. It's just the go-to. It's the gritty. You know, speckle tone's always been the one. So I would say craft speckle tone if I had to
In the history of French paper, was there a paper line or release? I mean, not necessarily going from paper plates to paper, flat stock paper, but a line or paper or line of color, some addition that you did that changed the company or revolutionized either yourselves or the industry?
Yeah, Speckletown is the one that really changed French paper and really turned the corner. We were in a very bad place. I mean, have been, we've had some hard times. Obviously, most paper mills do. And when the environmental flow came through and everybody really wanted to shoot for environmentalism, we were one of the first mills that ever did recycled paper. and we did it because we had to, because we're a mill that we don't do the nasty bleaching, the nasty processes. So um, truly, as a mill of French paper, we started making recycled fibers because we didn't have any other fibers. So we figured out a way to make recycled into new. And 100% honestly, we sold it as virgin fiber because people didn't want it. And then when everybody started wanting it, we said, well, you've been buying it anyways, so uh, here it is. And truly, that we were the first ones in the market with it because we had already been there, and we added some wood shivs to it to really make it look natural. And that's what really took French paper into what it is today.
Speaking of good questions, any more good questions out there? They've all been good questions, great questions. Brooks. So the question repeated from the internet had to do with, well, I guess the genesis of it was a Creative Mornings talk I gave over a year ago that was on the topic of money and how to utilize money to both attract and retain talent in your local market. And specifically, a second part of that question was speaking towards the Orlando creative market and feelings on that. And then how you guys feel about your markets and where the divide is between local creative versus the greater community, since we're all so interconnected, and it's easy to feel local when somebody's in San Antonio or Niles, Michigan, because certainly we feel like we're in a relationship just like you were here. So yeah, that's a big one. So my stance on that is, well, one, the reason that I'm pretty fierce about Orlando is, well, it's home for me, and I believe that everyone should really love their lives and love where they live and really take pride in their neighborhood and community. And that by no way means that I'm anti not local. Obviously, we collaborate with people from all over the world. But, particular for us in Orlando, there's a meme that lives over the city that I'm just not comfortable with outside of the context of creativity. I think within the creative realm, I really believe, because of amazing people doing amazing things for the last, I don't know how many years, we've been really building a name for Orlando that's independent of whatever the meme is that lives over us, that comes with being an Orlando resident. But that's just a niche message. The fact that people in certain communities look at Orlando now and say, oh man, that's where Rifle Paper is. That's cool, or that's where Hog Eat Hog is, or that's where these other amazing companies are. But that's still not the greater discussion about Orlando. And I feel that creativity is problem solving. If we're the creative class, it's on us. And if we're the storytellers, it's on us to both connect each other's stories with each other in our community and also connect with the greater conversation happening outside of our community. So the practical benefits of that are, well, there are awesome, amazing people looking for awesome, amazing creative right here in our backyard that go and get it elsewhere, and that's okay. But we should still be able to compete at the highest level, and I think we can do that from anywhere. And I think that's an amazing thing, that we can cross borders and that Mama Sauce can do work for companies in New York. Fiction can do stuff for people in LA. It's amazing, and I think it just makes it a bigger market that we can all tap into. And people, there's no reason why people should be taking our great talent from Orlando without us putting up a fight. When people move to Brooklyn, that's amazing, and they move to Austin, that's awesome for them. But I think it's where the rub is for me on that is that I think it's a travesty if people don't want to move. If really the impetus to them wanting to go is because they're like, my talent needs opportunity, and so I'm going to go where the opportunity is. And you know, you'll grow to love wherever you are, most people, or you go for that reason, and maybe a few others. But like I said, there's no reason why Orlando or whatever your market is can't put up a fight for them. And the onus is on us as the people creating opportunity to make opportunity that holds talent wherever you are or attracts talent. And exchange is fine, but at least, you know, take pride in where you are, and be the change that you want to be, to say that whatever city you're in, we're great and we can help build opportunity to either attract talent or retain talent, and that extends beyond just Orlando.
That is such a difficult line between what say you're somewhere that maybe you don't really want to be, or maybe you feel like somewhere there, the grass is greener, or I would have more opportunity there. When do you when do you go there, and when do you invest in your local community? And that's something that is a struggle for me. And I guess for me, I tend to side on taking advantage of the worldwide nature of the internet. We can connect with people everywhere. And so I really take full advantage of that. But more recently, I've been making a point to purpose to take advantage of the fact that there are people that are local to me, and there are people that are reaching out and wanting to connect, and I want to make time to connect with those people. I just had someone yesterday contact me. They had met me at South by Southwest, and they happened to be also in San Antonio where I lived, and they said, "Hey, I know you're super busy, but if you ever have time for coffee, I would love to bounce some ideas off you, some things I'm working through." And I said, "Yeah, let's get it on the calendar. Let's just do it." That's how I like to make sure things happen. Not like, "Yeah, okay, maybe someday," and then the email gets buried. Right then, I just respond and I say, even if it's 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks out, let's get it on the calendar. Let's make it happen. I could have a live video event and reach hundreds or thousands of people and say, well, I can better utilize my time worldwide through the internet, or if I move to Austin, or if I move to San Francisco. But I think we have opportunities locally, and it's a unique kind of opportunity. The in-person connection is unique. I think it's impactful, and there's people watching us right now online, but we have a unique opportunity here to talk with people face to face, and I'm just trying to embrace that where I can.
Local means a little different for us than it does for especially like the design and creative stuff. For those of you that don't know, we're French Papers in Niles, Michigan, and as of 20 minutes ago when I talked to my dad, it's snowing there. So thank you for all this. Uh, but local for us, truly, I mean, there's a lot of great things about our area, and but thank God there is, because paper mills don't fit in U-Haul vans. Uh, So truly, the one big thing for us that's always really kept us viable is our workforce. Niles, Michigan is a very small town, and it's full of very hardworking people. I mean, it's one of those things that everybody says it, but it's the truth. It really is. I mean, we have second and third generation people working in our mill, not just the French family. So the workforce is the one thing that really pushes French paper, and it's the honest to God truth. I mean, that's one of the things that really makes French paper French paper. Um, our quality couldn't be what it is without those guys, and we would never be able to survive without it. So the other thing is shipping. Where we're located in the country, it's wonderful. We have one of the best shipping routes we can possibly get. We're right outside Chicago, and we can hit almost every hub we need to. So that's one of the things that really helps us a lot too, because paper is not easy to ship and it's not cheap to ship.
I'll just add something to what you said. Just that human connection. There's something really real there in your local community. Like the ability to sit down with somebody across the table. Like I got lunch with a friend of mine who started a company the same year we did, and we've gone through a lot of the same trials. And to sit down when they're going through hard times, or I'm going through hard time, and share empathy. Like it's a lot easier to share empathy, I think, when you're sitting in proximity to each other, when you can just knock on someone's door. There is a certain realness, but I do also agree with you. We take full advantage of every aspect of being able to connect with people to the extent that we can connect with them. You can grow real relationships over the internet, for sure. Anybody on Tinder? No, but you know, we have real relationships, you know. But yeah, there is a special connection to in person.
I think lettering is experiencing a resurgence just because everything is becoming so digital, and I think people want to see that human element, that human aspect to designs and to products, that reminds them that there is a person behind this. It's not automated. It's not just all robotic. And so I don't know if I have anything more than that.
Well, the question was, where's our place, and how do we respond to increasingly less tangible communication interface with other people on the internet when we sell tangible products, or how do we see that relationship and it playing out? Yeah. You know, it's funny. I used to worry about the future of Mama Sauce in an everly rapidly, you know, expanding digital universe, and what that might look like for us when we create tangible things. And that's really all we do, you know, is make tangible things for people to sell. And I realized that my view on that was just, it was just frightfully small, because I would worry about, you know, things like, something comes out like Bump, and you're like, what's going to happen to business cards, you know, because that's a big part of our revenue, or like, you know, will people start inviting each other to, you know, weddings over e-bites or whatever, you know? But
Oh yeah. As a recipient, as a customer of your business cards, I think people, they say like, oh, business cards are dead, but business cards that Mama Sauce makes, those tactile letterpress post duplex super thick business cards, those are the human connection to the digital realm, that you know what I'm saying, like the difference between the in-person conversation over coffee versus a tweet at someone. That's how I compare the business cards you guys make to just any normal business card. And I think when people say business cards are dead, they're referring to the non Mama Sauce business cards.
thank you. Yeah, and I do hope that's 100% true, and that's, I'm on the same side of you. I believe that, and in a more generalized statement, though, yeah, maybe those things that are less personable of the business card, the tweet version of the business card, or the less expensive or the less thoughtful business cards may go away, but what we do is so thoughtful. It is so personal that I think there will always be a place for that, and we occupy such a, excuse me, hello, such a small space in that market right now, and we're only going to grow, I believe, tremendously in that little market. Even if that little market shrinks, we still have so much room to grow within that tiny space. And yeah, all any fear that I ever had about that is honestly gone away, because the more I've fallen in love with it myself personally, the more you hand somebody something and they interact with it. Yeah, you can't feel a tweet. Somebody quote that in your tweet from Mr. Wes.
I mean, you guys really echoed our feelings, but I mean, French paper's been around forever, and really we've been around for the whole rise of technology. And I think at the beginning there was a major fear that, everybody said, well, with email nobody's ever going to send a letter anymore, and we really, I think we really did worry about it. It was a big fear, and after a while we started to realize it's a lot easier to delete an email than it is to throw a letter away. If something's in your hand, like you said, it's that tangible feel, and people really still want that. It's a lot more personal, and it's not going away. It may be less, but it's never going to go away. And I think we've, as French Paper as a company, we've kind of said, you can't really worry about it because we can't control it. Tiny little French Paper in Niles, Michigan's not going to end the iPad. So we've kind of just said, instead of worrying about it, let's use it to our advantage. We were the first paper mill to have a website. We were the first paper mill to sell paper online. And that's kind of the way, rather than fearing it, embrace it and use it. It's a tool.
If I can add to that, we're all we're considered small businesses, no matter how, French is, to me, a massive brand. But you still, it's a small business. It's nimble. Decisions, like you said to me the other day, are made, they can be made quickly and amongst a handful of people. And so the large ships are the ones that have a hard time steering. And so institutions are the ones that have a hard time responding to an ever-changing world quick enough to really adapt. And that's why you see things like the rapid, restructure of music underneath the bigger music conglomerates that refuse to change because they can't. And the same thing is going to happen to movie studios and everything else. The small guys, independents, you have an opportunity to be nimble and look, just like you said, for opportunity, and resourcefulness is really that's like the most important thing in the Mama Sauce story. Just besides our people, it's just resourcefulness. We got two more. Okay, we got time for two more. Awesome. We're gonna EK3 because I know it's gonna be just the coup de grace. So right here.
Yeah, it was a promotional piece for Speckletone. It actually came along right at the time when Speckletone was really taking off. I believe it was 1985. It was the year I was born, which is crazy to me. This whole thing took off when I came around. I take full credit. Uh, but it was a spiral-bound journal, and it was actually full of four-color images of pieces that Duffy Group had already done on French paper. So it was actually a dual promotion. So it was French paper and Duffy Group together. Believe it or not, every once in a while they'll pop up on eBay for a couple $1,000s. Any buyers? Yeah, it's a really cool piece. It's not incredible it's not any crazier than the stuff that we produce today. It just happened to be at that perfect time when it wasn't really being done. Truly, before the partnership that we had, most paper mills had their printer design their swatch books. I still have our older swatch books prior to Chuck, and it was French paper white, and it said white in big letters on the cover, and you opened it up, and it was white text, white cover. This is our swatch book. That's what we have. And there was really we had a recycled sheet, and it was once again because we're using it once again. And before that, before the introduction of creativity to the real people that know this stuff, designers, it was terrible. And I think that's what the really the reason for putting it in the Smithsonian was the huge contrast between where it was and where it was taken with that piece.
Do you still have some of those? We don't have any. You're just saying. Splitsies. We'll talk, Mr. Scott. All right. I heard a chuckle here. So this question, so the question from GK3 is: do we ever, for anyone, yeah, do we ever have trouble balancing innovation and efficiency? That's it's a breeze, man. It's yeah, it's easy. I guess I'll start. Efficiency efficiency is the hardest part. Yeah, I don't. Efficiency is almost an afterthought for me, or it has been historically. It's more of a Tasmanian devil approach, and I learned after having to spend the greater part of the last year having to clean up the mess of trying to be well, you said innovative, but I mean, there's nothing really innovative about, you know, about doing things that have been done for thousands of years, like what we do, except for maybe our brand and our approach, you know. But we were really just guns blazing into that innovative march forward space without regard for efficiency. So we moved forward very, very, very quickly, too fast. And there's been a lot of cleaning up to be done, both in, like I said, you know, we didn't know what we were doing after our video broke, and we had to, you know, build efficient processes that took us years to do, and basic even learn our trade, you know. So now my thought process is always, you know, and we talk about this, Chase and I, at Fiction, like every single day, like, what is the genesis of this? What is, you know, what's the systemic issue? What, you know, if there's a problem, what's the systemic issue? Or if we're going to launch something, what's the system that supports it? What's the logistic? Who are the people? And be concerned with efficiency. Maybe you have an innovative idea, but the second thought has to be, well, what's the support and how has it become efficient? And that never was natural to me before. And it's only after just years of disregarding it, and then years of paying to clean it up, both in, well, there's an economic side, and then there's a non-economic side. And cleaning it up on the non-economic side, and certainly taking the brunt on the economic side, is our staff having to create efficient systems now, on the back of something that was built without that. So if there's practical advice that I would say to wrap that up, you have innovation as a thought, grab it, and then think efficiency immediately after, before you go with it.
We definitely have. I mean, it's impossible. I would say efficiency is really hard. The good thing for us is that we have a large enough group that typically the innovative idea comes up and somebody says, "Hey, you idiot, that's not going to work because of this." But I mean, we definitely we tend to take on some orders and some jobs for things that they are very innovative, and a lot of other mills have turned them down. That's kind of why we do it. We appreciate the hard job, and it's fun for our guys. You know, it making if we made white paper every day, we have a lot of people that'd be very angry about it in the mill. So when we take a new thing that's going to be a little harder, a little crazier, um, you know, say we're putting grass clippings in or something like that, our guys really take it and run with it. It may not be as efficient as it could be if we were just taking our typical orders and saying, "Ah, well, sorry, we can't do that." Um, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. You know, sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit of efficiency in order to have some fun and really revive it. And it's rejuvenating. Truly, a lot of times it really is.
You tell us how you can apply it.
Oh boy, the grand finale, Brian says. That's kind of a hard question. It's just me. So innovation looks like just working a ton, and efficiency would be working smart so that I don't have to work a ton. And I usually just try and do both. uh, Launching the Learn Lettering courses was that was kind of my push forward innovative thing, and I definitely did a lot of overtime on that. But I think for me the efficiency comes from slowing down, taking a break, putting, the innovation on pause so I can kind of come up with better systems for what I have done so far. And that's kind of in my case right now where I'm at is just saying no to a lot of things so I can slow down and think about that stuff and kind of put some systems in place just for my own sanity.
Brooks, you want to come and be the grand finale? People are waiting.
Just let it ride. Well, I know I speak for everyone here and everyone on the internet when I say thank you very much. That was super, super helpful and really, really interesting, especially you on the interesting part. But no, thanks a lot, guys. Really, really appreciate it. As I said before, Q&A doesn't end right now. It ends for the internet people, unfortunately. Sorry, no way around that. Go local right now, anyway. Come say hi to these guys. Any of the Mama Sauce staff, if you have any questions about the sauce, raise your hand. Sauce folk, they're littered about, and most of them know more about printing than the other ones. So the one you pick is the best one, is what I'm trying to say. There is still coffee? There's still coffee. And they're just, thank you so much to Lineage Roasting for doing amazing roasting. Also, pies by Patrick Chin. And of course, thank you to East End Market for hosting us. I have two more things to say before, whatever else happens. One is that this event isn't just something we just decided to do because let's do an event. Mama's Sauce has an internship program that is, it's so important to us. We just really, really love it, and it is designed not for people who want to be printers, but for people who want to be designers and find print very inspiring, especially if they're going to be designing for print. Circuitous. And specifically, it's designed for people who are really inspired by spot color print design, which if you don't know what that is, it's probably on some level what brought you here, because everyone up here is involved in spot color, which just means as opposed to full color. Forget it. But our internship, and this is for the internet people actually, is extremely important to us, and it is really neat. But anyway, you can apply if any of you are interested. If you know someone who you think might be interested, if they're a graphic design student or a working graphic designer, if they can spare a couple days a week for maybe a season of life, we love to help inspire and train people to learn how to look at print, learn how to look at paper, learn how to think production-like, and let the means of production inspire their design process. So that's what this event is about. It's about educating and inspiring, which is what our internship is about. As a really beautiful crystallized expression of that, you are all invited to walk over to that beard and pull a print of something that was designed by that hair. We've got a, can you lift the screen up so they can see the, I don't know if it'll go up that high. Well, we've got a little, you can see a little bit, but we've got an anchor that says depth on it because, I don't know, make some connection to what they said. But anyway, go over there, pull a print. It's free. You can do it. We have a Mama Sauce apron for you to wear while you do it, so you can still look fancy afterwards. But other than that, just enjoy yourselves. We'll be kicking it till 9:15-ish. We'll be out by 10. Just don't be that guy. Basically all of them except you. Well, yeah. Sorry. Other than that, just enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much for coming.